Welcome to the Northern Ontario Mining Showcase podcast. It's a limited series for the Echo Community Podcast Network by Story Studio Network and Clark Communications. We highlight the influential voices, partners, and leaders who are driving innovation, research, and development, creating new market opportunities and new ways of doing business in the mining industry.
My name is David Bradley. I'm president of RJLL Drilling. And I've been back with RJLL since 2020.
So what's your role with the Canadian Diamond Drilling Association then?
I'm a member of the board to come and support the board as far as what the CDDA wants to do in the industry within Canada, and I support the board on doing what we need to do.
So this is a voice for the industry, specifically for the drilling segment of the industry?
Yes, exactly. Right. So it groups all the drilling companies in Canada where we're members, and we set standards as far as safety, discussion about wages, procedures, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of what I've talked about here, and this is besides the whole, the operation of the mine is in and of itself is, obviously a huge part of the industry. But inevitably we start to talk about the new technology and capacity in the sector in terms of the jobs that are there. And there's a real shift I'm sensing over the last number of years, particularly now that we're getting into, I talked to somebody who was all excited because now that we've got Starlink, we can actually talk to our mines more easily on the internet, right? Yeah. So it's the shift and the speed of the evolutionary changes in tech alone are part of that. So I'm just wondering where you guys would fall into that in terms of not just the tech, but the new skill set that has to be applied to, what's going on in the mine right now.
Yeah. Well, first off with the tech, if you talk about Starlink, for us, we have often we're in remote jobs, Northern Canada, and it makes a big difference because we can text with our guys, and it's a main thing for safety. If something would happen, sometimes satellite phones won't work well, and then if there's an emergency, well, you're always nervous if something happens. Is the sat phone going to work well, depending on the coverage of the clouds and all that
right,
stuff? So,
yeah.
So with Starlink, it's a big revolution for us as far as communications and making sure the guys are safe, and also get all the information so we can bill our customer.
Well, there's also the I heard somebody talking about being able to troubleshoot too. I mean,
yes.
If you've got a tech on the ground in Timmins and there's the mine is elsewhere and it's still 100 miles away, I don't have to travel the 100 miles to go and do my troubleshooting for something that's not working well.
Well, that's true, because the downtime went significantly down because of that. Because our drills are drills with all the electronics and all the codes, so sometimes you have a drill in the middle of the bush that starts coding and the drill don't work. So the advantage is you can get the tech on a FaceTime and just show him the code, and he'll have you make some tests, and so you save lots of downtime for sure.
Yeah, that picture helps as opposed to for me to explain the red wire going to the blue node and
exactly, yeah.
That nonsense, or read out that computer code. Oh no, I misread it. But give me a sense of where that is with the jobs, because the whole idea of the drills themselves have obviously evolved over the last number of decades, and where we've gone. I keep coming back to the idea of if we were to sit down and talk to the first crew that attended the first PDAC gathering, whatever, 90 odd years ago, their minds would be blown to know what it is you guys are doing now to keep the industry going.
These are discussions we have around the family dinners, because my grandfather started Bradley Brothers in '42. So when he started on the drills in the 1930s, they would bring everything in with horses and do a 6,000 feet job would last 6 months. Now 6,000 feet job is a month and a half maximum. So it's the speed, the evolution, the strength of the machines, the hydraulic versus gear, all the equipment you have to move now. I mean, it's a very different ballgame.
So, and again, that development of, do you find it's an issue specifically with what you're doing in terms of the drilling? Is there a challenge around job capacity there? What I'm hearing is we got more jobs than we can fill.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the challenge is to have your workflow planned properly, so when your drill finishes a contract, that it's lined up for another contract. So the biggest challenge is to keep your workforce working because we're contractors, right? So if you do a job and then you're 3 weeks, a month and a half stop, well, the chances to lose your guys is an issue.
Yeah, so they want work elsewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they have no choice because they're contractors, obviously, and we respect that. But most of the time now we have a capacity of 46 rigs, so we're able to play with our guys and go around. So,
right.
So it gives us a good chance.
And then how do you make sure that as people sort of age out of the industry, you've got this new talent coming in and they're ready to go?
Well, our strategy is simple. Now that we have 45, 46 rigs, like I mentioned, is we hire new employees as helpers, and they'll follow their runners for a few years, and after 3-4 years, they're the next gen coming in as far as being runners. So that's how we do it in-house. Really on
so it's almost like a mentorship, apprenticeship model.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is it a challenge to convince, somebody who's going to college, university right now, this is why or where you might want to focus your attentions vis-a-vis, this particular part of the mining industry?
Well, as far as drilling industry, most of the time we have guys that are manual guys, so they don't stay at school long, and
got it.
So they're very manual. So they like to work hard. Our best profile is farmers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When farmers come and knock at the door, we'll hire them right away because they're used of getting unstuck with nothing, and they have a big heart.
Troubleshooting and
exactly.
all that stuff. Good. Yeah, calloused hands.
Yeah, exactly.
They know how to do that stuff. And again, a lot of this conversation around safety, and I know that's what you sort of led by talking about. I talked to somebody the other day, and they said, earlier in the industry, we talked more about safety as in terms of compliance.
Yep.
Now we're at a stage where we talk about safety because it's a commitment, and it's a huge difference. Not only are you talking about the safety of the individuals, but it hits the bottom line. There's a return on investment when your site is safe.
Yes.
Right.
When your site is safe and when your people are well trained, the main issue is if you lack training and communication on why it's important. Because what changed from when I was a driller 25 years ago as of today is the kids, they want to know why they're doing things. So if you spend time on the why and you get them to understand, it makes a hell of a difference.
Well, I found that even when I was working in newsrooms, and we would have the same thing. We would bring young students in, and I had 700 years of experience in the room, right? These guys knew the story. They knew how to tell a story. And we'd have the first-year university students say, well, why do you do it that way? And all of a sudden, that 700 years of experience, I think, why do we do it that way? And there was a real opportunity there to almost refresh the experienced team in terms, this is why we do that, and stay on the edge, make sure that it's all done well. So I'd be curious, that dynamic with the new and the more experienced, I won't call them old, we'll call them more experienced, mature. But, to me, in many cases, it's easy to dismiss one over the other. They're more energetic, they're newer, they're up on the new tech, they're, all that, they can run longer, farther, harder. The old guy, he can sit off and we can kind of put him off to one side. There needs to be a real thoughtful balance between the value of both of those parts of the team, right?
Well, the key for us is to, we started by training the old guys on explaining why you ask your partner to do stuff. And also train them to understand why they're like that, the new gen. Why are they saying, why are we doing it that way?
Right.
What's the purpose? And it frustrated lots of old guys that when they were young, they were being told, do this, they would do this.
Sure.
And that's it. Jump 2 feet, they jump 2 feet. But now, why should I jump 2 feet? So it's a lot of management training and values, part of the values we have. But
I was talking to somebody about even the tech side of it, and as you describe it, it's almost as if the skill set is evolving in the workplace too, right? And I think that I'm at a stage in my career where if I stopped learning new things, I'd be finished. I have to keep kind of moving. I'm like the shark. I can't stop. I got to keep swimming to do that sort of thing. And I would think that at a certain point now you're getting to a stage in the demographic where the older, more experienced individuals in the industry already understand that it's a little hard. It's not as hard a sell as it might have been 20 years ago.
It's true. technology, what it make it as a difference, you can be as productive and not work as hard. And sometimes the old guys, they still want the young guys to work hard, even if they don't have to, because it's that's how they are. So, like again, it's a lot of taking time and explaining, working hard with the supervisors, so they have the same attitude with the operators, so they can teach the young guys to take the experience.
Yeah, work smart as well as hard.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So now I want you to put your hat on in terms of the association for a second, and you know, I know there's a sort of probably a government relations component of that. Is there something specific that you need from the government, or you know, that would make either life more productive, safer, all of the things that you need to kind of look at as far as your part of the industry is concerned?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. I'd say the association, yes, we have relations with the government and everything, and legislations, so to make, but the big focus is to standardize training, and being all across Canada. In the province of Quebec, you got certain training that are required. In Ontario, you got training that they call it Common Core, but Common Core is not necessary in Quebec, and the guys.
So there's no consistency.
Exactly. I'd say that would be a main focus. That should standardize everything as far as environment, safety, and training, and that it's all across. So you can bring a guy from Saskatoon to Quebec, or Saskatoon to Ontario, or Vancouver. So that's what bugs me.
So I mean, I'm going to sound like a stupid question, but drilling in Saskatoon and drilling in Quebec is drilling.
It's the same thing. It's the same job, but the regulations are different.
So what's the stumble there? Because it does sound like they're making more work for you by not having a consistent, standardized view of it.
Well, it's the right hand not talking to the left hand. I mean, it's and for a certain reason, I don't know, but some provinces, they don't seem to want to do what the other one does, and it's.
So who's doing it right? I mean, if there was a model where we said this is best practice among all of those regions, is there one that we should say this should be the base, start there, and then improve from that?
Well, with all the work that's been put in Ontario as far as the Common Core for surface, underground, that correlates with mining and drilling and all that stuff, I find that, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I find that Ontario is really doing it right.
Yeah.
And as far as environmental, like Quebec came out with Ecologo. It's a certification where you switch all your oil you can with bio oil, and it even, what's interesting with Ecologo is that they even come and challenge your management system, your accounting system, how you compile all your information. So it's almost leaning towards ISO, but really for the drilling industry and the mining industry as far as environment. And I find that program is pretty good.
So those two things combined sound like what you need to do is to get both heads banged together there.
Yes, but sometimes they don't want to listen to each other.
That's interesting. You talk about the getting away from the fossil fuel to run them. Tell me a little bit about the science around the biofuel.
Well, the science is we need to find a way, and drill manufacturers has to get together, put their heads together, and find a way how we can get electric drills. Simply a drill consumes 400 liters per 24 hours.
400 liters of
diesel fuel.
Diesel fuel, right.
So
where do you find the alternative that's as effective, right?
Exactly. So this is the next step I think the industry should be focused on.
Did you have a sense of where that might be in terms of the direction that you're looking?
No.
I only ask because we do work.
That's a good question.
We do a lot of work with forestry, and a lot of the stuff that they are doing, they talk about their own, use the whole tree. So there's parts of the tree that go into making biofuel, right? And then they use that to run their plants and put energy to the grid and so on. I just think that at some point, you're talking about the two jurisdictions, Ontario, Quebec, we need to kind of get them together, and even then you need to have mining and energy and forestry to kind of, you guys are in the room, right? So there's some real opportunities here if you can kind of get your head up and look around, because I think you're right. Those are going to be not only beneficial because we've regulated, fossil fuels sort of, we're not going to be able to use them as much as we want, and we don't want to. But the innovation that's going to come from that when you can get those cross-pollination from one sector, one industry to the other. I think it's just fascinating. And we have it all here in Ontario. We certainly have it here in Canada in terms of those resources. I want to ask you, I saw on your website, bring it to the surface is a huge part of what you guys talk about. And I'm curious to know health and well-being. I'm reading in there's a mental health component to this. How much of an issue is that, specifically in the industry?
Oh, it's a big issue. I mean, it's like society, it's a big issue.
Sure.
But in the drilling industry, these guys are tough guys. They don't want to show vulnerability, or they don't want to show weakness. But too many guys don't talk about it, and it starts again by training with our supervisors to make sure that they can see the signs, they can see if a worker's not doing well, and ask him a real how are you. A real how are you is that if the answer,
you care.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And if the answer's not right, you need to push so you get the people to start talking about it.
Yeah.
Because being in a depression, or there's lots of mental illness that people won't want to talk about it and just want to be strong. But at the bottom line, the main issue is that it's safety concern, and some people put the suicide. So we want to try and prevent that. And and some guys come from they have a tough map road, and they need support and help. So we need to do something about that for sure. So that bring it to surface for me is just getting the conversation started. We're at the beginning of the program, and what we want to do is make sure that people talk about it and they don't stay isolated with their issues.
So how much of that is your onboard training when you bring new guys on to do the work? How much of that is sort of ongoing training for the current staff? Because you can't just rely on the team leader to do that. I work beside you. I got to be the guy who's, you're watching me to make sure I'm, doing okay.
Well, the focus we put in our company is that they're always a team of two. You have the operator and assistant operator, and they're all trained to see if something's not right. That if they don't have the courage to talk to their partner, at least raise the flag to the supervisor so he can dig into it.
Yeah.
So that's the only way you can do it.
And how you formalize this in terms of the program? How long has that been going on?
That program, it came out last year, but really now it's being deployed right now. So lots of focus around bring it to surface.
And this is national?
Well, with all the members, because the CDDA is formed with drilling companies, members, and suppliers. So, we're pushing it through the members, so they apply it and they install it into their businesses to make sure that people can talk about it.
So how many members would there be in the association?
Oh, the exact number, I don't know. I just saw Louise.
You should know this is what she's going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure that there must be at least 50 drilling companies or something like that, and manufacturers and all that stuff. So maybe I'm wrong from, plus or minus 10, but it's...
But even at that, it's a significant number. And when you're talking about providing, I would think that the resources that on a surface level are here's how to approach this, here's the general circumstance that you should be watching for, how to train your team, because it's a different kind of listening.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right.
It's a complete different training, and not everybody will be comfortable with it, so we have to identify in our teams who's going to be the strong leaders in that, and make sure that when they go around jobs that that the flag is up. Plus the CD is going to put a lot of effort. We have a conference every year. Now we have one in May this coming May, and there'll be a paper around that to help the owners of the business.
You're in Halifax.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, very good. I know Scott Clark and Aaron from our team is going to be at the conference, so that'll be good fun.
Yeah, exactly.
David, thanks for joining us.
It's
good
a pleasure.
luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Northern Ontario Mining Showcase podcast. The series is produced for the Echo Community Podcast Network by Story Studio Network and Clark Communications. For more information, visit our website, northbayecho.ca.